This week on Talk Asia, we're in China with Roger Federer as he doubles up with the nation's top tennis star for the Shanghai Masters and discover what keeps the man driven after more than 15 years on the court. You've won 17 Grand Slam titles, but you still need to prove something?
Yes, to myself, to my supporters, to Switzerland.
Roger Federer, welcome to Talk Asia.
Thanks a lot.
And welcome to Shanghai. I mean, it's been, what, 11 years since you first got here in 2002?
Exactly, for the World Tour Finals back then.
Yeah, and a lot has happened.
It's a big deal for me, yeah. It was my first time that I qualified for the top 8 players at the end of the year and trying to win the World Championships. I lost in the semis against Leighton Hewitt in a tough match. I remember I was out at the Expo Center, and by now they have this most incredible Xisong Stadium built for the players. So I think it's a really nice place for us to play tennis, and I'm always excited coming back. For players that come from here, especially,
there's a lot of weight of expectation on them because you've got the pride of a nation. And you've had to deal with that as well in your career, but it seems as though a lot of expectations on you even now, despite the fact that you've achieved so much. How do you deal with that?
Well, I mean, okay, Switzerland's not quite China in terms of pressure, but
I think everyone feels that they have, you know,
absolutely.
That they
I've gone
have such an
it.
interest in you, even whether they're Swiss or not.
Absolutely, and it starts very locally and so forth, and you move on and on and on, and you have to prove yourself time and time again, and that pressure can definitely weigh on you. You lose the fun goes away sometimes, just because instead of now it being this lifelong dream you've had of wanting just to enjoy yourself and play tennis like your heroes used to. Now people sort of expect you to win, like losing in the quarterfinals, which was a dream 5 years ago, now is like a disaster. It changes the mindset of you as a player and as a professional athlete, and that's where I always try to remember, well, you know what, as long as I enjoy what I'm doing, I train hard, I have no regrets, and all I can do is give my best, then it's going to be fine, regardless of the outcome.
How did you get to a point where you could have that kind of perspective in your career?
Took me a while, to be honest. I was very emotional when I was younger, so I think by the age of 22 maybe, I thought 25 maybe, I'd say even, I was like, okay, losing is fine, you know, but I think that only came because I won that much all of a sudden. So I knew that those wins nobody could take away from me. That's sort of in the vault, and that's good to have, good to know, and now you have to just prove yourself every single day, and everything that comes is like a bonus. So I've been on this bonus trip since a long time, and playing this way has been actually much more enjoyable.
Do you still get nervous when you get on court?
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, yes.
Who have you enjoyed playing against? I mean, when you look at some of your opponents that you've had, from the likes of, you know, Andre Agassi, Pete Sampras, you know, more recently, Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic, these are the bigger name players I'm mentioning. Who do you feel has challenged you so much that you've had to pull out every single bit of arsenal that you've got?
I think Rafa, for that matter, because of the way he plays with his left-handed topspin and so forth, he has really made me, you know, think through my game again. What do I need to change to actually compete and beat him? And he's been the most challenging for me, probably overall, combined with Leighton Hewitt in the beginning of my career to play against. My favorite time in a way was when I was coming up and about, just because I was playing against a guy from TV, and I was like, really, am I playing against Pete Sampras or Andre Agassi, or, you know, those kind of guys, Carlos Moya, Tim Henman, you know, you name it, and I was like, wow, this guy's got such beautiful volleys, or his forehand's amazing, or his serve is outrageous, I've never seen a guy return like this, and that you're on the same court is like an honor, and that is something that really marks you, and it's like that kid in the candy store feeling.
You're very supportive of young people, especially with your foundation.
The idea of the Roger Federer Foundation early was in education, because we felt that's something you cannot take away from any child. That was something very personal, and I felt very comfortable doing that, and it was my mom who also always told me, if you have an opportunity to give back, Roger, don't wait too long.
Speaking of your mom, she's been quoted as saying that you get your serenity from her, discipline from your father.
Really?
See,
Okay.
interestingly enough, Roger Federer, I read that you weren't always a cool, calm,
No, I
nice
wasn't.
guy on the court.
I was a nice guy,
Well,
but
okay.
not nice against myself.
You weren't always a cool, calm guy, always smiling on the court.
That's true.
What was that about?
Just struggling to keep my temper, you know,
See, this
cool.
is, I can't believe that you even had a temper.
But it's so funny because actually I had all the temperament even on the tour, on the main tour, but the problem was it was all before I really broke through when I beat Sampras at Wimbledon. I literally decided a month before I beat Sampras at Wimbledon in 2001, I'm just gonna be quiet now, and I'm gonna get so angry if I'm not gonna be quiet at myself that I pulled it through. You can ask all my generation players how I used to be in the juniors up until about 20, 21 years old, and then I became this super quiet guy that now everybody knows, but people who really know me remember that crazy guy who used to commentate every shot I missed, cried after matches, broke rackets, threw rackets in the fence so I wouldn't break the rackets, and just be so emotional and torn, you know, on the court, and not argue ever with my opponent or the umpire decisions at all, just with myself, you know, that trying to be too perfect too soon.
Yeah.
It was very much part of me, and I think it was good for me to get it all out when I was between sort of, I'd say, I don't know, 8 and 20.
Yeah.
And then now I can play with that serenity that my mom is maybe saying, you know.
You've got a lot of support around you. I mean, you talk about with your family, you
Yep.
travel with your family often as well, and also the support that you have from your wife. I mean, I think maybe a lot of people don't know that she was a champion in her own right, a Swiss junior champion as well. Tell me about the kind of influence that she has had on you.
Mirka's been incredibly supportive throughout. Without her, I probably wouldn't have had the success I've had, and she's seen, I mean, I'd say 80-90% of all my matches, so more than any coach I've ever had and so forth. So she's been, I mean, incredibly good for my tennis career, but also for me personally, just growing up. She's always been there, and she's been wonderful.
Because she didn't continue with her professional tennis career, I remember reading somewhere that she said once that when you win, she feels like she wins too. Do you ever feel that when you're actually playing and perhaps even winning, is that there's a little bit part of you that is doing it for her as well? I mean, that's the romantic in me.
I know it's very romantic. I don't think it's like, I don't think of it. I just like to see her like being happy. So if it makes her happy that I win, it's good for me winning, right? Because if I lose, she's in a bad mood. It's not good for me. So.
Does she ever question you if you lose? Like, do you ever say, "What were you doing?" Did she
Yeah, it's like,
dissect your game?
yeah, she'll tell me that was an awful match. What's wrong with you? You know, like absolutely. I mean, she can. You know how friends and family are. They'll tell you the truth.
They're the worst critics.
Absolutely, you know, but that's why we love them the most, you know.
I think everyone remembers the 2012 Wimbledon last year.
Last year, yeah.
And everyone saw the faces of those two little girls cheering, but they didn't know what they were cheering for. They just saw their daddy and they were very happy.
Right.
I bet seeing those faces means more than anything than any trophy that you could get.
I didn't know that they were going to be there, and Mirka sort of brought them in, and it's one of those moments you look back on as a player and a father and a husband. You're like, oh my God, that's like the perfect moment. Can we like freeze that one forever, or just for a longer time? And then just seeing them happy and clapping and seeing their happy faces, it's a beautiful feeling, you know.
What do you want your legacy to be?
That I was maybe good for the game, you know, not bad really. That people enjoyed watching me play.
Yeah.
That I put the game into the right direction. That I was maybe somebody that you could look up to. And I just want to be part of the great game of tennis. You know, that who was part of it, because tennis is always bigger than any athlete we've ever had, and tennis will keep on going, will be successful, will be good, because right now we live in sort of a golden era, people call it, and I'm very proud to be playing right now.
Roger Federer, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Too. Yeah, thank you.